Welcome to this 100th episode of the Keto Vegan. I am going to talk about something that is really on my heart at the moment and is troubling many millions of people around the globe. And this is what's happening in Gaza at the moment. The date today is July 2025. And I hope in the future, when people listen to this, this is not relevant anymore because there is peace. I find it really upsetting when I see the reels on social media, and I feel powerless about what I can do. Now, not wanting to spend 14 years in prison by saying that I support Palestine action, I am not saying that. But what I am going to say is how we can boycott and make a difference. If you want to know if you are buying things that are from Israel or support what is going on out there, carry on listening and you will find out. I'm also going to talk about the complicity of our government, UK government, in this genocide. I'm going to talk about the F-35s, how this country are supplying parts to Israel, and these are used to murder children and murder civilians. If you want to find out more, continue listening. I'm going to try and not make it so that you cry. I'm going to state facts. I'm going to talk about foods to avoid. I'm going to talk about other products you can avoid. And I'm going to talk about the complicity of our government so that you have got facts. This podcast is the most researched episode I have ever done. I do not want to be stating false facts. I do not want you to be believing wrong information because there's a lot of it out there. I am biased. I want this to stop. I cannot see any justification for it. I can't see anything but evil with this, and it saddens me. Don't get upset, Rach. Okay, come on, you can do this. One effective way of doing something is to boycott. So the Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions Movement, so the BDS, that's how I'm going to refer to them in the future, their core objectives are for ending occupation, ensuring equality and the right of return. They use a strategic and non-violent approach. Further along in the episode, I'm going to decode complicity. What does that actually mean? Can we bandy that word around freely? No, we cannot. If we are accusing someone or something of being complicit, we are accusing them of doing the crime, and we'll look into why certain actions are considered complicit. Now, you are a consumer and we have power as consumers. We really do. Even if you think, but it's just me, do it anyway. It makes a difference. We cannot have that philosophy, oh, it's just me, so I'm not going to make any difference. Yes, we are. Every movement starts with one person. Every movement does. And look at the strategies and changes that have happened. I'm not going to start listing those because this is going to be quite an in-depth episode. I'm going to try to keep it really informative. I'm going to skirt over a lot of things and just draw attention to a few things. But you need to do further research. I will put various links underneath in the show notes if you want to find out more about all of this. I'm going to talk about food first. There will be some directly made in or directly Israeli owned products. These are redefined meat, or redefine meat, not got a D on the end of it. It was founded in 2018 by Nes Ziona, which is in Israel. And as we know, it specializes in 3D printed meat, and it's some of the best alternative plant-based meat, I think, that I've had. Also, Sabra Sabra is an Israeli company which was initially founded as something else in 1986 but acquired by the Israeli food manufacturer, the Strauss Group, in 2005. They produce a very smooth, lovely, luxurious hummus and other dips and is now wholly owned by PepsiCo. The parent group was known to provide financial support to Israeli occupation forces, which has led to the calls for boycotts against Sabra products. Other products are things like Jaffa oranges and other produce, so do check labels there. And there's many other Israeli food companies. There is a list of the specific food companies underneath. Those are direct Israeli companies that we want to boycott. There are also international food and beverage companies with significant ties or alleged complicity. This list is more extensive. I'm not going to mention everything on it. Let's talk Coca Cola. This company has been accused of involvement in illegal Israeli settlements. There's a manufacturing plant in the West Bank, and also there are concerns or reported donations of supplies to the Israeli military. PepsiCo acquired SodaStream in 2018. SodaStream is an Israeli company. It was previously manufactured in an illegal Israeli settlement. It also has a documented history of racial discrimination against Palestinian workers. There's Carrefour, Carrefour. It's a French multinational retailer and it's been labelled a genocide enabler. They have reportedly supported Israeli soldiers with personal packages and entered a partnership with Israeli companies Electra Consumer Products and Yenot Biden, and both of those companies are implicated in violations against Palestinians. We've got McDonald's and Burger King. They are facing accusations of donating food to the Israeli military and offering discounts to military personnel. Burger King is the same, offering donations and food to the Israeli military. By doing this, they are supporting what the Israeli military are doing, which is horrendous, which is genocidal. We've got Papa John's and Pizza Hut. Sorry if those are your favourite pizza places. They're also accused of donating meals to the Israeli military. Now let's go beyond the kitchen and talk about other consumer products, such as cosmetics, electronics. Cosmetics first. Ahava or Ahava is an Israeli company that has its visitor centre, its production site, its main store, all located in an illegal Israeli settlement within occupied Palestinian territory. Another one, anything that's got Dead Sea beauty products around it is Israeli. Nevo and Sea Spa skincare fall into that category. Why are we boycotting this? It's because the extraction of natural resources from the Palestinian section of the Dead Sea by Israeli entities is considered an act of war pillage by the Geneva Convention. And Moroccan oil or argan nicker, these are also Israeli products. So despite its name, Moroccan Oil is an Israeli company that manufactures argan oil-based hair care products. Organic Hair is another Israeli company producing similar products. So that's some cosmetics to start boycotting. Do not buy any from now on until this is all sorted and this is stopped. On to tech companies now. There are many companies that are providing tech support to the Israeli military. For example, HP, Hewlett Packard, are providing services to the offices of Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Financial Minister Smotrich. They have a deep role in helping entrench the occupation of Palestine and associated human rights abuses. Other tech companies: Siemens, Keto, Wix, Dell, Cisco, and another one, there are many more, but another one is Motorola Solutions, and this company is targeted by the BDS for providing surveillance technology in Israeli illegal colonial settlements. On to financial services now. Barclays Bank is accused of financing companies that produce military technology which is used against Palestinians. Barclays also owns Tesco Bank. Do you bank with Tesco's or Barclays? I've mentioned Barclays before because of climate destruction. So avoid Barclays. Go nationwide. They're an ethical bank. Another financial institution is AXA. It's a French insurance giant that invests in Israeli banks that finance war crimes. I'm going to finish with the complicity of our government with this genocide. So the historical relationship between the United Kingdom and Israel has gone back since the First World War. I'm not going to go into that. What is going on right now, and what can we do about this? So the UK has maintained a significant arms trade relationship with Israel. For example, between May 2015 and August 2022, the UK licensed over £442 million worth of arms to Israel. This relationship has been going on for a while. So this trade, the contentious part of this trade aspect, is the UK made components for the F-35 combat aircraft. And they're justifying this because it might jeopardise the F-35 supply chain. Let's find out a little bit more about that. So there are components made in this country for the F-35, and 15% of its value is manufactured here in the UK. These aircraft are likely being used by Israel in Gaza. So get this, despite concerns that Israel was not adhering to international law, the UK government implemented a special carve-out which allows the continued indirect supply of F-35 components, often via the United States, and the government asserted, as I've already said, that halting these supplies would jeopardise the entire F-35 supply chain. Unbelievable. Now, Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International contend that if the UK continue to license arms transfers to Israel, despite a clear risk, in inverted commas, that these weapons are being used to commit or facilitate serious violations of international humanitarian law and potentially war crimes. Human rights organisations have strongly criticised this stance of the UK providing these F-35 components. Amnesty International, amongst others, have strongly criticised what the UK are doing. They contend that the UK continues to license arms transfers to Israel despite there being in inverted commas, clear risk that these weapons are going to be used to commit or facilitate serious violations of international humanitarian law and potentially war crimes. Amnesty International explicitly stated that this continued supply places the United Kingdom at risk of complicity in genocide. There was a High Court ruling on this carve-out, and it determined that the court lacked the constitutional authority to intervene in this policy, stating that it's the responsibility for scrutinising that the responsibility for scrutinising such actions rests with the executive and parliament. This means we as the people, as the citizens of this country, as voters, as a voice, we have to write to our members of parliament. We have to put pressure on the government. We have to campaign. We have to sign up to those things that come through from Amnesty International, from all of these organisations that sign this petition, increase the numbers. And then I remember the biggest peaceful protest in this country ever, way back when our Labour government wanted to go to war with America against Iraq for these weapons of mass destruction that never existed. There was the biggest protest for that, and they still went. This is meant to be a democratic society. They are not listening to us. All I get on my newsfeed all the time is about this genocide. It's everywhere. It is everywhere. It's even on my podcast. I know. Amnesty has concluded that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. So have many scholars on genocide. So have many other countries saying that Netanyahu needs to be brought to justice for war crimes. Yet our country is silent about that. The Human Rights Watch, HRW, assert that the UK has failed to uphold international law and use leverage as an ally of Israel. It's an ally of Israel. So it should be able to have some leverage there by continuing the arms transfers, knowing that there are these significant and clear risks of breaking international human rights, in breaking international law, of international human legislation and violations. And so we should have the right to protest. If we start harming people and killing people, that can be considered illegal. That can be considered terrorism. Palestine Action did not harm people, did not kill people. They caused millions of pounds worth of damage to these places. There's a lot of information out there. It's embarrassing for the government, somebody I heard say on social media, because they easily gained access to where they put all this paint and damaged this war equipment, and they got in by electric scooters or something like that. I mean, but what did our government do against Palestine Action? They have now deemed them a terrorist organisation. This is a terrible, terrible thing. If these people that campaign are now being arrested and can face 14 years in prison because of sitting there holding a poster saying, "I support Palestine Action," priests, an elderly female priest, doctors, businessmen, businesswomen, people are protesting, and then the police come up, sweep them up, and they could face 14 years in prison because of what our government has done about changing the law. That is not democracy. That is not our right for peaceful protest. That is not our right to freedom of speech. That has been taken away from us. Do I go on about how the US is complicit as well? Very, very briefly. Basically, the US is Israel's largest international supporter. You can do further research with that. I will put this episode notes in my Keto Vegan website, and there will be a link to this on one of the pages. It will be pretty obvious where that is. It's a very extensive document with all the research in it, and this will give you much, much more detail. I have been really brief considering the amount of information I had. I have pages and pages and pages of it, but I didn't want to bore you mindless. Okay, so what can we do? Don't sit there and do nothing. Do something. Whenever there is a campaign that comes up, sign it for the end of this genocide. Put pressure on your MP. Write to them. You can easily find the MP's address. When you write a letter to your MP, start with your full name and your address so they can see that you are one of their constituents, and then write your letter. There are bound, if you're not sure what to write, there are bound to be drafts of letters to send to your MPs that you can copy and then personalise and say why it's important to you. So I never thought that my 100th episode would be on this. Focus on love, focus on compassion, focus on kindness, on harmony, on peace. I am finding that really, really difficult at the moment. We are vibrational beings. We are spiritual beings, and we can have an incredible, powerful effect just by our spiritual effervescence, as it were, by being kind, by being loving, by being positive, and visualizing peace in Gaza by looking at the positives that are happening. I'm going to end on a bit of a positive note about the UK. They do provide humanitarian assistance to the region. So in 2025, this year, an additional £40 million was announced for humanitarian aid in Gaza. And this included support for the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees. And also at the same time, or simultaneously, the UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy has voiced strong condemnation of Israel's inhumane and dangerous aid system, the killing of Gazans seeking food, and the unprecedented pace of settlement expansion in the West Bank. He labels these actions as illegal and violations of humanitarian law. The UK has also implemented some measures, such as sanctioning Israeli government ministers and suspending talks for a free trade agreement with Israel. So we see that. We see the talk, but we also see the action. There's a conflict of interests. I know that was a bit heavy, a little heavy, a lot heavy. I hope you found it helpful. I plead with you, please act, do something. Boycott those products. Have a look at further lists. Look at the document where I got this information from. That will be on the Keto Vegan website, which is in process of much more work. I need to do much more work to that. So that was episode 100. Who knew that that's what I would be doing for my 100th episode? Episode 101 next time. That will be lighter. Maybe I'll do 101 cocktails. I don't know 101 cocktails, so I won't do that. But keep visualizing peace. Be love. Be kindness. And when it starts upsetting you, change your vibration to peace and love. I will see you next time.